As we debate here in Westminster, raining down hell on Gaza is Israel's fleet of F-35 fighter jets, attacks that clearly violate international law. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I raise this because every F-35 fighter jet is made in part here in Britain in a deal estimated to be worth £368 million.
Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'd like to begin by saying how good it is to see the Conservative Party on the opposite benches and in such diminished numbers. No doubt some will say that I'm being unsporting, but since politics isn't a sport, I will say it anyway. I will never forgive Conservative MPs for the 14 years of damage they have inflicted on our communities. Child poverty has never been higher, NHS waiting lists have never been longer, life expectancy is falling, and food bank queues are rising. Our public services are cut to the bone and our infrastructure is broken. Our trains are permanently in crisis, our rivers are pumped full of sewage, our teachers, doctors and nurses have been forced to strike. And according to one academic study between 2012 and 2019, 330,000 excess deaths can be contributed to Tory austerity. So when I say politics is not a sport but a matter of life and death, that is what I mean. For some, it appears to be a parlour game about the next Zone 2 dinner party invite, but this is about people's lives, this is about their material conditions. And while the party opposite has scapegoated minorities and slashed support for the poorest, they have helped the rich get richer. Workers' wages are lower than they were in 2008, but the wealth of UK billionaires is up threefold since the Tories came to power. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, the general election results show that people across the country are crying out for change. Our new Labour government must now deliver it. I am pleased to say, for the first time in my parliamentary career, this King's Speech has bills I'm looking forward to voting for. But I don't think it will surprise anyone that I want our government to go further. From introducing the New Deal for working people and making sure that it bans all zero-hour contracts, totally ends fire and rehire, repeals all anti-trade union legislation and rolls out sectoral collective bargaining across the economy, to recognising that the argument that we're making for public ownership of rail applies to water, mail and energy too. But in the short time I have to speak today, I want to focus on two areas that I believe need urgent action. If the Labour Party has a moral mission, it must be to eradicate poverty. After 14 years of Conservatives, we have a record 4.3 million children growing up in poverty. They go to bed hungry, they struggle more in school, their mental health and physical health takes a hit. Their parents are put through hell to try to make ends meet. I, of course, welcome the Child Poverty Task Force, but everyone in this chamber has read the briefings. Everyone knows the evidence is overwhelming. The key driver of rising child poverty is the two-child benefit cap. And the single most effective way of tackling child poverty is immediately lifting 300,000 children out of poverty by scrapping this cruel policy. I will be voting for it, thank you. It is a move backed by everyone from Gordon Brown, all 11 trade unions affiliated to the Labour Party, as well as the TUC, which represents 6 million workers, as well as the Archbishop of Canterbury and Save the Children. And with a 1% wealth tax on assets over £10 million, you could raise the funds to pay for this policy 3 times over. Kids should not have to suffer a single day in avoidable poverty. So I will be voting for the amendments selected by the Speaker to scrap this cruel Tory policy. And at this late stage, I appeal to our new Labour front bench. Let's deliver the change the country has called for, adopt the policy and immediately lift 300,000 children out of poverty. The second area needing immediate urgent action is the amendment I tabled, Amendment C. As we debate here in Westminster, raining down hell on Gaza is Israel's fleet of F-35 fighter jets, planes described by their manufacturer as the most lethal fighter jet in the world. Israel has armed these jets with 2,000-pound bombs, explosives with a lethal radius of 365 metres. That is the equivalent of 58 football pitches. A recent UN report identified these bombs as having been used in emblematic cases of indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks on Gaza, attacks that clearly violate international law. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I raise this because Every F-35 fighter jet is made in part here in Britain in a deal estimated to be worth £368 million. This is just one example of Israel's use of British-made arms in its assault on Gaza that has killed over 38,000 people, disproportionately women and children. The legal threshold for these sales has clearly been met, so they should be banned. There is a clear risk British-made weapons might be used to commit or facilitate serious violations of international humanitarian law. Hence, in February, UN experts called for these sales to be immediately ended. And other countries have also suspended sales. Spain, Canada and the Netherlands, just to name a few, have suspended sales. And previous British governments have suspended sales too after far less Israeli assault. Margaret Thatcher in 1982, Tony Blair in 2002, Gordon Brown in 2009, and David Cameron in 2014. Today, the Palestinian people face death and destruction on a scale unlike anything they've ever faced before, but British-made arms are still being licensed to Israel and they're still being used to kill innocent people. So again, I say to our new government, it's time for us to uphold international law and end arms sales to Israel.